You know, when you've been watching wrestling as long as I have, or for some of you 30 plus years, you see a lot of performers come and go. And of those, there's a Mount Rushmore. A Mount Rushmore is a system that promotes the 4 greatest that you've ever seen. If The Undertaker is not on your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, it doesn't mean you have a different opinion. It just means that your opinion doesn't count. The Undertaker, to me, was the greatest character ever made. He reportedly announced his retirement yesterday on the final episode of the Last Ride documentary, which I highly recommend for everybody. In this video, I'm going to go over some of his iconic matches, what The Undertaker meant to me, and what The Undertaker means in and out of the ring to all of professional wrestling. Hit the like button, subscribe, do everything you got to do. Stay right here. So, I think the first time I saw The Undertaker, I was 8 or 9 years old, and I want to make a mention that obviously being 8 or 9 years old at this time, I can go in the backyard and see a butterfly and I'm automatically invested. But I knew immediately, right away, there was something special about The Undertaker. Everybody remembers the first time they saw him, whether it was his debut. Everybody remembers where they were. Everybody remembers what they thought about it. To this day, I honestly believe The Undertaker is the best character in professional wrestling history. And I don't just mean to jump on the coattails of so many other people that have said the same thing, but he honestly is so special to everything that professional wrestling is. And for those of you that don't really know The Undertaker, maybe you're a casual fan, and that's another thing. Fans, you know, there will be, let's say 70 people watch my Instagram story today. There will be probably 65 of them that, well, maybe not 65, let's say 45 of them that do not watch wrestling and never really have. But they know who The Undertaker is because that's how special he was. A lot of them probably watched him in their childhood. And actually, you know what, guys? I have something really cool here. I'm not a Funko Pop guy. Well, I kind of am, but I don't really have any. But this was one of the things I got for Christmas. I got the Undertaker Funko Pop. You guys can get yours at pops.com or wherever it is. This is not a sponsorship, by the way. But this was really cool. And this is one of the things I got, so I figured it was appropriate to bring this bad boy out. There's other collectors on here as well. I think one of the things that I remember the most was his entrance. His scariness. You know, again, there could be a butterfly in the backyard, I'm invested. I don't know right from left from WWE at the time. When you first started watching WWE, if you were a young kid, you probably had no idea what's going on. You don't know characters, you don't know storylines, you don't know feuds, you don't know how a wrestling match is supposed to be. You know nothing. But I was smart enough to know that The Undertaker was very special. To this day, even 15 some years later, I do not think that there's ever been a time where The Undertaker came out and it didn't feel special. I've seen The Undertaker 2-3 times in person. I saw him at Wrestlemania 29 against CM Punk. That was a fantastic match. And I saw him the night after Raw, after 35, when he came out and chokeslammed Elias. The crowds were hit or miss. On that Raw show, the crowd was a little bit upset. The show wasn't that great. But when The Undertaker came out, everything changed. And that's what I think is important. I never heard the bell toll for The Undertaker and not get a reaction. Whether it was his American badass gimmick, whether it was the deadman, or whether it was Undertaker breaking into this real-life character the last couple of years, The Undertaker never did not feel special. And I think that that's what a lot of superstars today, whether it be creative or just superstars in general, really struggle with. They struggle with finding what separates them from everybody else, and they struggle with building a character that people really get behind. To this day, there has never been a character that I think people have gotten behind more than The Undertaker. You know, I didn't watch his American Badass gimmick too much. Again, I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I'm actually working my way through the Attitude Era right now. I'm on about June 2000. The Undertaker just came back at Judgment Day. Amazing reaction that he got in May of 2000. You know, I'm loving the Attitude Era. I'm digging it. I know all the superstars. I know main things. I know Randy Orton winning the world title at a young age. I know all of these things, but I never lived through it. It takes a lot of time and dedication to do so, but that's what I'm going to. The Undertaker said in his documentary that he thinks that the character of The Undertaker needed the American Badass gimmick. I don't know, because I never watched all of The Undertaker, but I was privileged to watch about 15 years of him, and it was something very, very special. And for those of you that don't know, I highly urge you to watch The Last Ride on WWE Network. There are 5 episodes, and that's what brings me to today's topic, which is The Undertaker potentially retiring. Now, do I rule out the possibility of The Undertaker ever wrestling again? No, I don't. Do I think that he has no urge to get back in the ring? Probably. I don't know what else, and he even said it himself, what else is left for The Undertaker to accomplish? He's won every championship that he felt important. He's feuded with everybody. He's main evented WrestleMania. For the love of God, he had a 21-year streak in which he was undefeated. There's nothing left for The Undertaker to do. I think that the match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36 this past year, a couple of months ago, was something he really wanted, because AJ Styles is one of those guys that's one of the best wrestlers ever, and he never really had much of a presence in WWE. He's known for his independent scene and TNA, but AJ Styles is one of those guys that I think Undertaker really wanted to have that match with. You saw in the documentary, I won't spoil it too much, you saw AJ Styles kind of narking on Taker, saying, let's do this, and Taker's like, I don't know, it is what it is. They ended up having the Boneyard match, which wasn't a wrestling match. It was very cinematic, and it was fantastic. One of the things that I thought they could have did with that Boneyard match as well, even in a wrestling match, regardless of what condition Undertaker's in present day, I think AJ Styles would have made him look really, really good. Because AJ Styles has this presence to where every guy that he has a main event caliber level match with, or just anybody, he tends to make better. He brought the best out of Brock Lesnar. AJ Styles, to this day, I have not seen a bad match from. He really is. But today's about The Undertaker. So, do I think he's retired? Yes. A lot of us watching this, he was such a big part of my childhood. He was such a big part of yours, and he was just so special. You hear these stories about the guys in the locker room tell you about The Undertaker, how they all looked up to him. And, in today's present world, you hear a lot of crap being said backstage in WWE. You hear a lot of guys go on podcasts and shame this character. This guy did this guy wasn't safe. To this day, he's one of those guys that was so well respected that I don't think I ever heard a bad word about The Undertaker. And a lot of guys strive for that position. John Cena's kind of similar in a way. Maybe John Cena's had a humongous impact in WWE, one of the greatest ever. I don't know if he did it as long as he wanted to, but John Cena was at the top for like 10 years in a row, and it was like, oh my God. John Cena's another one of those guys, very well respected. The Rock the same way. To this day, there's guys on that podcast that literally crap all over so many guys in the company, praising him. You can say what you want about JBL. He's very outspoken. Mark Henry's outspoken. All of these guys just meeting with him, seeing him, and having so much respect. He truly was to what these guys referred to as the locker room leader. If you can be at the top of your game like he was for so many years and do the things he did, I just can sit here and tell you there's just a collection of so many Undertaker matches that were just, oh my God. And I'm going through the Attitude Era, and I'm going to see so many more. The ones that stick out for me are the ones with Shawn Michaels. I don't mean to jump on the tailcoat, but the match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 is one of the best matches I've ever seen. I won't jump on the tailcoats and say that it was the best match ever, because that's what a lot of other people are saying, and I don't want to copy it too much. But literally, if you could design a flawless wrestling match, that was literally it. Like, every move was just designed to perfection, and it was just flawless. That match with Shawn Michaels should be top 5 for me. Then they had that match with Shawn Michaels the next year, WrestleMania 26. Undertaker had the privilege to send Shawn Michaels packing. What was Shawn Michaels? I do believe Shawn Michaels is the best in-ring performer ever. I don't know if he's the best overall wrestler ever. I think Undertaker really needs to be considered for that position of the greatest ever, because you look at the longevity that he's done it. Undertaker has done what he's done for 30 years. I'm only 22. I'm literally 22 years old. And 8 years before I was born, he was at the top of his game. I just think of all of those things that he did. I think of the longevity, the way he carried himself, how great he was at his job, and just even now, too, you saw at the end of episode 5, you saw him sitting down at the Performance Center. That's somebody who really loves the business and love what they do. 30 years, you would think he's had enough, but he's willing to sit down and put other guys that are young and hungry through the ringers and give them advice and just tell them, this is how you should do it. This is what I did when I was in this position. This is what I did. That is somebody who truly loves the business, and I think that he honestly should be the bar of what a wrestler should be. It shouldn't be Hulk Hogan. I don't like to crap on Hulk Hogan, but Hulk Hogan's got a lot of other problems. This is not about Hulk Hogan right now. To me, the matches with Shawn Michaels rub me the right way. Then, 27, he's got the match with Triple H. The match with Triple H was great. It ended in the tap out. And then 28, they had what was deemed the end of an era match. The Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker, which was one of my favorite matches ever. Shawn Michaels was referee. And you saw the end of the match after Undertaker had won. You see them all on stage, all three of them, standing next to each other. And if you watch the documentary, this is the last time I'm going to mention the documentary, you will see that he tells you that was about as real as it gets. 29, the match with CM Punk, I saw that in person. That was great. WrestleMania 30, I think, is kind of what Undertaker wants all of his fans and a lot of us to erase from history. Not because Brock Lesnar beat him, but because Undertaker doesn't even remember the match. He said that I gotta mention it. He said that on the documentary, he doesn't even remember what happened before 3 p.m. on the same day. He said after 3 p.m., the day he had his match against Brock Lesnar, he remembers nothing. He was so concussed. That was, if there's one match from The Undertaker that needs to be erased from history, it's that one. And that was the day the Streak died. I remember sitting and watching the Streak died. My dad doesn't even care about wrestling. He was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? 31 was a great rebound for Undertaker. He had the match with Bray Wyatt. That was great. I think personally, if you eliminated what happened in 30, I think that in 31, Bray Wyatt should have been the one to break the streak because he was red hot then. 32 was the match with Shane. Bit of a spot fest. Didn't really care for it too much. 33 was the match with Roman. That is where a lot of people said that they thought that he should have retired. That was where I actually thought that The Undertaker was unofficially retiring after Roman Reigns beat him and he put his stuff in the ring. WrestleMania 34 was an insult because one of the guys that WWE never really gave Undertaker the proper feud with was John Cena. I think that if they would have put John Cena and Undertaker not even 10 years earlier, but yeah, 10 years earlier, in the heart of the Ruthless Aggression era at WrestleMania, John Cena's unstoppable, Undertaker's never lost, that could have been one of the best matches in the history and one of the best feuds ever. That was one of the guys they never pulled the trigger with because I felt like they wanted to make both guys seem unstoppable. 35 was the night after Raw, and then 36 was the Boneyard match. To me, he's just one of those guys that you will always remember for the impact that he made. I'll never forget the first time I seen him come out. I actually don't remember the actual first time I seen him, but I'll never forget seeing him from a young age, just how special he was, just to everything. I was such a young kid, and he grew on me so fast, and he's what a lot of people would put into his their archive of Mount Rushmore. He's on my Mount Rushmore, if you ask me. I could really sit here all day and talk about The Undertaker, but I don't want today's video to be too long. But we're going to say thank you to The Undertaker for everything he's done. It's very hard to tell if he's retired, just from the standpoint of, one more time, how about it? If you watch the documentary, you would have noticed that there were about 80 different situations where he retired. I didn't go over any of the Crown Jewel things because honestly, the Crown Jewel Saudi Arabia shows have literally been disgusting in WWE. Not because they went to Saudi Arabia, but because those shows felt so forced and they never felt special. I have never seen a Crown Jewel show that I can say I really enjoyed. I don't like the idea of going there is great and all, but I don't like they just push these matches, and there's been so many ugly moments of just them trying to push these megastars that are so old and over the top. But that's really it, guys. That's all I got for you today. Undertaker was truly special. Go get your Undertaker Funko Pop. I definitely did get this one, and this is definitely pretty dope. If you are a collector of Funko Pops, you could definitely gonna have to go get your Undertaker Funko Pop. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I do appreciate you for watching. I'm gonna try in the future to make my videos a little longer, but again, I'm still at the point where I'm building my audience. I appreciate everybody watching as always, and continue to stay safe.